Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday, the last day of March. We had to wait 31 days to get any kind of meaningful rainfall in the valley and the foothills. We did have a little bit of wet weather. You may not remember this. I didn't remember it until I looked back. I think it was March 2nd or 3rd. We had a few hundredths of an inch of precipitation up in Truckee and South Lake Tahoe, but nothing helpful up there. So this is good to see. Not only are we getting rain and snow, so far we're getting more than what we were expecting, which I feel like often it's easy to overdo the forecast. We didn't want to get anybody's hopes up too high, and this is good rain and snow, but it's not the kind of rain and snow that's going to change the narrative. We've heard a lot about the snowpack, and it's in really bad shape for this time of the year. Our reservoirs are in really good shape for this time of the year, though, so as always, the water situation in California is complicated. We're not going to get too into that here tonight. We are going to hear from the Department of Water Resources tomorrow. They are doing their April snow survey, typically when they see the snowpack peak. So we'll hear from them. I've been asking them some questions kind of on background, just on how they plan to go through things. So I'm going to share more about that tomorrow once we hear from them. But tonight we're going to focus on how much rain we have seen, the snow conditions, because we now do have chain controls over some of the passes in the Sierra up around Tahoe. And we'll talk about what's coming up for the next 24 hours. So I'm going to show you the rain totals that I have access to. I have access to lots of them. You do too. You just have to go to the same websites. They're free and open to the public. But it's always helpful if you have a home weather station, or even just, tell me what you see where you are. I had somebody from Diamond Springs say, one of the parking lots where he is starting to fill up with water. It's been raining there pretty steadily for the last few hours now. So reports like that are super helpful to us because you can help be the eyes and ears for where you are. It also helps to balance it out, so we make sure we're communicating everything in a way that makes sense to what you're seeing. All right, so I'll be checking the comments on my Facebook page, the KCRA Facebook page, and on my YouTube channel as well. I don't think we have the comments open on the KCRA YouTube channel, but we can work on that for the future. So, without further ado, here's how much rain we've seen in the last 24 hours. This is the California Nevada River Forecast Center. This is my go-to spot for rain totals, and you can probably tell why. There's lots of them. They're nice and color-coded, show up nicely on the map. I'm a very visual person, so it's helpful for me to see where these reports are coming in from. Yeah, the numbers in Sacramento County, we were expecting maybe up to 0.2 of an inch of rain between today and tomorrow. We're already almost there in some spots. This 0.07, and we'll come back to this, this is a somewhat significant number in kind of a sad way. At Sacramento's Executive Airport, we'll circle back around to what that means, but nice to see at least a few pennies in the bucket there. But as we were expecting, the farther east you go, the farther up the hill you go, the higher the rainfall totals are. We call that orographics, moisture, and just the flow of air overall moving from west to east. So as it hits the higher terrain, the air gets forced up at a faster rate than it would over the valley. You force air up faster, and it's basically like squeezing a wet sponge. All the moisture just kind of gets wrung out. So these numbers, that's Rollins Reservoir, close to 1/2 inch over the last 24 hours. Wise Forebay, about 1/2 inch. Can zoom in and isolate. There's the Auburn Airport. Over an inch, I'm a little skeptical of that, only because these numbers in here are a little lower. That being said, there was a good downpour that moved over Auburn a couple hours ago. I know that. But that's something that we look for as meteorologists, and you should look for too if you're checking rain totals. If you see a number that's kind of like, that doesn't look right, check the numbers around it. Especially in the hills, you can get some weird numbers. Placerville, that's not the airport. That one's the airport. Just over 1/2 inch of rain, so that's in the range of what we were expecting there. 1/2 inch to an inch for today and tomorrow, with rain still coming down. And nice to see some good rain in Tuolumne County. 1/3 of an inch of rain, not snow, rain at the airport in South Lake Tahoe. Martis Creek, close to 1/2 inch. Doesn't look like the Truckee Airport is reporting right now, but it's pretty typical to see The number for the Truckee Airport a little bit lower than what we would see in South Lake Tahoe. And not at all unusual that the numbers around Lake Tahoe are smaller than the numbers on the west side. Again, that's the orographics. You go west of the Sierra Crest, which is right about here, you'll get bigger numbers. You go to the east, the air is moving down, so it kind of has the opposite effect. A few hundredths of an inch of rain in the San Joaquin Valley. That's about what we were expecting. North end of the valley, slightly higher totals. So Sacramento County actually, at least out of the valley spots, kind of taking the lead here so far. Alright, so those are the numbers that I have seen. See if anybody's checking in with their numbers. I gotta reboot the comments. There we go. Rebooting the comments helps. Alright, so Diana is checking in. Hi, Diana. Keith has a 1/4 inch in Woodland. Hi, Richard. Diana says she wishes it would rain more. Yeah, we need this. This is good. Pamela describing a steady smattering in Fair Oaks. And SG says, love it. Sounds good here in Pioneer. Yeah, it's been raining steadily along Highway 49 in areas east today. Brian says it's been pouring in Diamond Springs since 5 p.m. at work. Yeah, Brian, it was your comment that I referenced. I saw you posted earlier about the bus lot where you are taking on some water. So hopefully everything's good there. These are definitely some bigger numbers than I think what we were expecting, because the numbers that we're seeing right now around Placerville and Diamond Springs are what we were expecting for kind of the 2-day totals. And we do have some more coming. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a sec. Scott on the KCRA page, 1.32 in Blue Canyon. And Rich says 0.15 of an inch in Rio Vista. So yeah, these are some pretty healthy numbers so far. Let's jump over the radar. I guess we kind of should have started with that, huh? So this is the radar over the last hour. A little bit of thunder and lightning still going there in Amador and Calaveras County. We've had a few lightning strikes. Actually, we did get a photo. I forget if it was Placer or El Dorado County. I think it was Placer County. Closer to Lincoln, where lightning appears to have struck a tree and kind of split it right down the middle. And that can happen. But fortunately, because we are getting rain with this lightning, we're not concerned about dry lightning or any fire threats or anything like that. That'll come later in the season. But that's why getting this moisture now is a good thing. So yeah, it's just kind of drizzly, kind of damp across Sacramento County, parts of Yolo County. Solano County finally getting in on some sprinkles. Hasn't rained all that much there today. Stockton, Modesto, you're getting some rain. Oakdale, up into Pioneer, Ione, Rancho Calaveras. Good to see that. And then here's part of how we track the snow level, right? The radar does its best to distinguish where the snow is in white, where the rain is in green. And actually you can see the last couple frames on the radar. See that? Let it play through one more time. So the snow level is here, and then at the end of the loop, boop, jumps down. So that's how we can tell that the snow level is dropping tonight. And Donner Summit does have chain controls now. Snow level just kind of trying to creep down towards Truckee, but it does look like going from just about almost Kingvale up and over Donner Summit. That's where you'll need the chains. There may be some wet flakes trying to hit the ground in Incline Village, Tahoe City. South Lake Tahoe, not so much. It's running a little bit warmer right now. And as we typically see, just not as much falling over Highway 50 right now. Did hear from one of the media folks over at Kirkwood earlier this afternoon. They have a snow stake about 8,500 feet in elevation. So it's pretty high up there. But they reported 10 inches of snow. I imagine that's pretty wet snow with today's system. So an interesting snow level. It's not what we have been calling impactful so far because it's not, at least it hadn't been until a couple of hours ago, hadn't been impacting travel over the passes. Snow levels, for most of today, it's been around 7,500 feet or so, which is high enough that we're just seeing rain over Donner Summit, Echo Summit, and over Carson Pass, but low enough that, yeah, some of the resorts are getting some good snow. I don't think this is going to turn the season around for them, though. For those that are still open and can still push around some snow, yeah, it'll help them out for the next couple of days. But if you are going to try and get up there tomorrow, it's going to get windy around Tahoe. We'll get some gusts, I think, around the Tahoe Basin between 30 and 40. East side of the Sierra, we're talking, eastern Mono County, eastern Alpine County over into Nevada, eastern Plumas County. I get some pretty wicked wind gusts tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. We're talking over 50 miles per hour. Not for Truckee, not for South Lake Tahoe, not for places at lake level. They're kind of shielded from those winds. But I don't think tomorrow's a day, and I'm not, if you're from the ski resorts or anything like that, I'm not trying to discourage people from going up there. It's everybody's at their own free will. But it is going to get windy tomorrow afternoon. There may be some chair holds, things like that. I'm also a bluebird day kind of skier. I like dry and sunny and mild, and that's just my personal preference. All right, so we'll go back to the radar here for a second while I cue something else up. All right, so we're talking about how the snow level is going to be dropping tonight. And we're already starting to see that. I showed you that on radar. Here's how we look and see, well, here's one way I look and see how the snow level is going to be changing. This is what our forecast models look like before, any kind of computer software turns it into the pretty pictures that Futurecast is. So these numbers are, let's see if I can call it up quickly. Nope, of course, click the wrong button. There we go. Come on. All right, so these numbers are, I guess, a digitized or a numerical version of that. But this is a good way to look at the snow level manually. So what I'm looking at is this here, freezing height, snow level. So at what altitude is the air temperature below freezing? And these numbers are specifically for the site at Blue Canyon. So this model was run at 5 o'clock this morning. So hour 0 is 5 o'clock this morning. Hour 24 is 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. So 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, this model is showing the snow level may still be around 7,000 feet. We have it ballparked somewhere between 6,800 and 7,000, so low enough that we'll get some accumulation at the summits. But then notice by the time we get to, doing math in my head here, this is 5 a.m. on Thursday. So this would be like midnight, Wednesday night into Thursday. That's when the snow level actually drops down below 6,000 feet. But that's just part one of the equation here. So keep your eye on this column here. If we go up to 6-hour precipitation, yeah, okay, we're still getting some good moisture there. So when I'm snow forecasting, it's a combination of, okay, how much precipitation is going to fall that's in liquid, and is it going to be cold enough? So this could drop, maybe 6 to 8 inches of snow down around 6,000, 6,500 feet, and this will be overnight Wednesday into Thursday. So that's why we've been telling you since, really since Sunday, that Wednesday looks like the day where we're definitely going to get into some travel issues in the mountains. We're going to see the on and off chain controls tonight and tomorrow. Snow level just kind of hanging around summit level. But as we go into tomorrow evening, once the sun goes down, that's when the snow level drops off pretty quickly. And that's where we're going to pick up, a quick several inches of snow at places above 6,000 feet. So this will be some good snow for the resorts. It'll be okay-ish for travel, but tomorrow's definitely a day to be thinking about chain controls and to be thinking about the delays that come along with that too. Christine says it's raining in Roseville right now. Michael says, poured with at least 15 lightning strikes around Lincoln this afternoon. Yeah, Michael, Lincoln is where we got that photo of, looks like a tree that was struck by lightning in your area. So yeah, we've had some feisty little thunderstorms come through too. While I've got Futurecast up, let's take a peek. It did an okay job with everything today. It started showing the potential for some of these heavier showers last night. So we'll trust that it's doing pretty well right now. As we go through this evening, the rain lets up in the valley. It will ease into the foothills. It won't be quite as steady and soaking as what we're seeing right now. But if you live in the foothills, you know this isn't going to be a thing where it completely dries out. It is going to be damp in places like Placerville, Camino, Cameron Park, up into maybe Lincoln, Loomis, certainly up into Colfax, Grass Valley, Nevada City. It's kind of a soggy start on Wednesday morning. The roads in the valley may be wet, but we're not going to see problems during the morning commute because of weather tomorrow. So you can see maybe a few sprinkles in the valley, but the rain just kind of steadily going from Highway 50 on northward. This is 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Snow is on and off. But tomorrow afternoon, we get some showers popping up in the valley, especially on the east side. Also notice some good rain along the coastal hills. But this is where we start to get into some of the steadier snow. And watch how, as we go into the later part of the evening, you see how the snow just kind of fills in there? That's the snow level dropping down closer to 6,000 feet. So down closer to lake level. Lake Tahoe's at 6,200 feet and some change. So tomorrow evening is when the snow level drops and we see snow not only accumulating on the road but actually sticking around for a little bit. And then by 9 o'clock Thursday morning, it's all dry. There's probably still going to be some slick spots and some slow travel over Donner Summit, maybe Echo Summit, certainly over the Carson Spur. But then the rest of Thursday is dry. So my takeaway, at least as far as the rain goes, we're going to talk about the wind in a second. Tomorrow's a good day in the valley. Have the umbrella handy. If you're leaving for the day, take your rain jacket. You may want it at times. I don't think the radar tomorrow afternoon is going to be quite as busy as it was this afternoon, but be ready for a little bit of rain. Nothing that's going to cause any kind of problems. It is going to be soggy all day long tomorrow in the foothills. I don't think we're going to see the thunderstorm activity that we had today. We just won't have the energy in the atmosphere that we had today. But it is going to be wet from Nevada County down through, I'd say down through at least El Dorado County, maybe into Amador and Calaveras County. Rain kind of lets up a little bit in Tuolumne County. Tahoe, damp, kind of drizzly. If you want to get the real accumulating snow, you got to go up above 6,000 feet tomorrow. But by tomorrow evening, snow level may just barely drop down to about 6,000 feet or so. So this is a pretty good little system for late March or early April. I know it's, for some, maybe it's unimpressive because we needed something big to make up for what was otherwise a completely dry March. But this is good. It's we'll take whatever we can get at this point. It's good to get some moisture into the grass, especially on the west slope of the Sierra. It'll help push off the inevitable for maybe a couple weeks at most. And I know for those thinking about the snowpack, at least for places at 6,000 feet to 8,000 feet, this is kind of chewing away at the snow. But places above 8,000 feet are at least getting some good stuff out of this. All right, let's see. Is there anything else we want to look at? I know. Let's look at the winds. Why don't I pull this up so you don't have to watch me shuffle around everything.
Oh, here it is. Planning for worst case scenario? I don't think that. Oh, that's Saturday morning.
So tomorrow is going to be, for the valley at least, a breezier day than what we saw today, and in the Sierra, it's just going to be a windy day, particularly on the east slope of the Sierra. So these are the forecast wind gusts. This is Modesto down here. I know it's getting clipped. Let's see if we can shrink this a little bit. That's better. All right. So here is tomorrow morning. A little bit of a breeze as the showers come through. That's not going to cause a problem. If you're holding an umbrella, I don't think that's going to rip it out of your hands. But notice over the Sierra crest, you can see that highlighted really well. That's where the wind, you're completely open to the wind when you're on top of the Sierra crest. So we'll get some gusts to 40. Not a lot of people up there. A couple of chairlifts up there. That's about it. But look what happens as we go into 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. This is where we get into some pretty nasty winds, especially over in the Nevada side. Maybe not so much around Truckee and South Lake, which are kind of shielded from the southwest winds. But we'll start to get some gusts over 30. Some of the resorts are going to get some gusts 50 plus, up at their summits anyways. So that's why I said earlier, it may not be my choice of a ski day. If you can go in the morning, it'll be better. The afternoon may start to get a little bit hairy. But also notice on the west side of the valley, some gusts between 25 and 30. And we'll get a few gusts close to 20 in Grass Valley, Roseville, maybe Sacramento and Stockton. It's the kind of breeze that you'll notice. Maybe it'll move the trees around a little bit. But again, it's not going to cause problems, but it will be more of a breeze than what we had today. Here's 9 o'clock Wednesday, so the wind's backing down in the valley and the foothills, but notice how it's still going in the Sierra, and watch overnight, even into Thursday morning. This is 8 o'clock Thursday morning. Winds are just starting to settle down. But yeah, these will be some gnarly wind gusts. This is before sunrise on Thursday morning. If you're going to be up over the summits, if you are in the Tahoe area, maybe for spring break ahead of Easter weekend, it's going to get very windy Wednesday night into Thursday morning. I would not be driving around during those times if you can avoid it. I can't imagine there's going to be a ton of people on the roads overnight on a weekday. But to truckers out there, be careful going over the summits. It's a southwest wind, so at least it kind of follows parallel to the summit roads. But it is going to be quite windy in the pre-dawn hours on Thursday. So there's a high wind warning out for the east slope of the Sierra specifically. Not for Truckee, not for South Lake, but for the stretch of 395 in Mono County, for eastern Plumas County. That's where the winds are going to be at their highest. All right, so we talked rain, we talked snow, we talked wind. All of this is tomorrow. But for those with plans for Easter weekend coming up, look at that. This is when we're happy to see sunny and 80s and light winds. Great couple of days to be outdoors. I know growing up we did, as often as we could, we would do, egg hunts or Easter basket hunts outside if the weather was nice. This weekend's going to be great for that. If you want to take some family photos while everybody's dressed up all nice, be good for that. I think by Sunday morning, the ground is going to be dry in the valley again. We'll have a few days of dry weather. Foothills may still be a little soggy, and that just takes time. Of course, we'll have lots of runoff coming down off the mountains as well. But yeah, big holiday weekend coming up, and the weather looks excellent. That's good to see. All right. Oh, I did want to come back around to, I pointed out that 0.07 rainfall report for Sacramento's executive airport and why it's significant in kind of a wish it wasn't so significant kind of way. So we've been talking for sure over the last week, we knew that this is going to end up being Sacramento's warmest March on record, probably all of California's warmest March on record, just by the look of things. Those numbers will get verified by the National Weather Service here in a few days. But up until today, we were also on track for the driest March on record. We hadn't had any rain at all in Sacramento, in Stockton, in Modesto. so this is a list of, it's just monthly total rainfall, and I have it sorted here just for March, least amount of rain to most amount of rain. And this is for Executive Airport, so the records go back to 1941. This is 0.00 for this year, not including today. Obviously, that'll be added tomorrow. But with that 0.07 at Executive Airport today, we are now no longer the driest March on record. That will still be 2008 and 1994. No, instead we are the second driest. So there's that. It's been March was just kind of a weird month. The last couple of weeks, I mean, objectively, really nice weather. Really easy weather to plan around. Great to be outdoors. I'm a cyclist. The weather was perfect the last couple of weeks. But March is a month where we still expect to get some good rain and snow, and up until today, we just didn't. So it is good to get something, but this month will go down as the warmest and one of the driest on record, but officially not the driest on record for Sacramento. So do with that what you will. It's a little victory, I suppose. All right, we're coming up on 8:30. I am going to dig into some of the latest data here, get everything ready for our 10 and 11 o'clock newscasts. You can keep putting your rainfall reports and all of your other observations in the comments. I'll go through and check in with them afterwards. Of course, we will be updating all of our forecast information at kcra.com. We do that daily, no matter what. And yeah, talk to you soon. If you're celebrating Easter this weekend, enjoy, be safe, have fun. If you have family coming into town, enjoy that. If you're leaving to go spend time with family, safe travels. Hope the weather's nice wherever you're headed. Have a good rest of your night. We'll talk